I've been involved with Magic for a long time. I had a store and I ran tournaments, and as part of doing that I would cover those events within my store and write for the website. And then I qualified for a couple pro tours and did pretty badly at them, and people who worked on coverage there knew that I was a writer, and so they were like, oh well, you know, you're done playing in the pro tour, why don't you now write about some people who are still playing.
So the first time that I was ever in the booth was in GP Austin in Texas in 2012, and I went there to play, and I did pretty good, but I didn't make to the top 8, and they asked me if I wanted to help cover the quarterfinals, and I was like, okay. I had never been on camera before, and so I went in and it went pretty well. I liked it, it was fun. And then after, they asked me to do it again.
I've been working in coverage now for Magic for a few years. I started at the Grand Prix level doing play-by-play. I'm going to say this was about 3 years ago. Previous to that, I'd had a podcast for Magic for many, many years that was called Magic the Amateuring. It's now called Good Luck High Five. My name is Maria Bartholdi, and I'm a Magic content creator and news desk host.
I'm Marshall Sutcliff. I am a play-by-play commentator for Pro Tours and Grand Prix.
I'm Brian David-Marshall. I am the Pro Tour historian, and I do Magic coverage.
Well, coverage is super important. I view it as the window into which people can see our game. You can find people playing Magic either at kind of an entertainment level or at a very high professional level any given time on the internet.
Coverage is incredibly important for the game on a number of different levels. Certainly have had experiences where, you know, we'll cover a drafter, like let's say Sam Black at Pro Tour Dominaria, and he drafted some super crazy like 5-color deck with heroic, you know, all this like crazy stuff going on. And for the next week on Magic Online, when I would draft, I would play against people, and it was obvious to me that they were inspired by watching Sam draft.
You learn as a player where you should be headed, what direction you should be going in, as far as what decks to play, what kind of cards are important, how you should be sideboarding when you head to FNM that weekend. You know, Magic is a pretty daunting game sometimes. There are a lot of cards in any given format, and just to approach that kind of blind as a player who, you know, is maybe kind of casual but plays in Friday Night Magic or plays at home with their friends or maybe wants to go to a Grand Prix and play, it can be a very big starting point for them. So having coverage of big tournaments helps give you a jumping off point and saying, oh, I like that deck that I saw in coverage, and that's how this pro was playing it. And you can kind of go from there or build from there.
Just because you get to see somebody make a sweet play or try out a new deck that you've never played before, and you think, okay, I'm going to go home and try that deck myself. It has that aspect too. Obviously
very important for people to have players that they can look up to who give them signposts about what is possible within a format of Magic.
If we rewind 20 years or 25 years, we can't do what we're doing. We just can't. We can't do coverage every weekend at different cities around the world if we need a complete TV studio. Now, somebody like me, I can do this stuff and the stuff I do for the podcast and elsewhere on my laptop.
I remember being at home on a weekend where we didn't have a Magic event, but there was a PTQ going on somewhere, which is a Pro Tour qualifier, and Rashad Miller had set up at this PTQ with something called GG's Live. And it was the first Magic event I ever saw streamed from round 1 to the finals. And I was like, damn, everything just changed.
Well, technology has been a big part of how our coverage goes. We started off with basically just cameras, that was it. But now, for example, we have iPads that we use, and we punch in the player's hand into the iPad, and then that shows up on the screen and in the screen for me in the booth as well. And like, that was a game changer. Being able to always know what the players have in their hand is such a big deal. And it took our team, our coverage team, develop that internally to be able to do it.
I think visibility is so important for people coming to a game. If a little girl sees somebody like me or another woman on coverage, she can know that this is a place for me. This game has a place for me. And I think we've made excellent strides over the past 6 years in this area, and I think there's still, you know, miles to go. And I just hope that more women come and play the game, and more women are interested in taking on roles in coverage and being visible public Magic figures. It's not easy. You know, it can be very tough at times. You face a lot of criticism, and you feel like you're kind of representing your gender, and that's a big weight to carry on your shoulders. But the work has to be done, and I'm really honored and proud to be able to do it, and I can't wait to see where we go in the future.
How important is this for somebody who's new to the game? Because on one hand, it's extremely important. They need to understand what our game's about. On the other hand, we can't have a broadcast tailored to somebody who doesn't understand the game rules. We use slang. We use terms that even normal people don't know. And we like that. That's part of our culture, and part of the community is understanding what these terms and what the cards do. And you kind of have to get to that point to really enjoy coverage.
You know, it's a hard game. It's also the best game. But right now the technology doesn't exist for us to pull up paper cards that we place on the table and zoom in and everyone can see what they are. I think that's coming in the future, and certainly with Arena. So I think with the advent of Arena, we'll be able to draw more people in who haven't necessarily been Magic players and get them interested in playing the game.
There's a lot of different things coverage wants to satisfy. You know, you certainly want to have the deepest analysis of the game possible for the best players, but at the same time, you want to have this very broad, accessible, educational approach to the game. You want to be able to break down the slang and break down some of the maybe very obvious plays, especially right now with Arena. We have a ton of people coming in.
So traditional esports are video games that happen at a very fast pace, and when it comes to the rhythm of these type of games, a tabletop card game is much slower. It's something that you think about, and it's what should I do next, right? Where in a video game, it's just fast. I think that MTG Arena will be in between. It will play much faster than a tabletop card game, but not quite as fast as a shooter video game or something like that.
I don't know what coverage will look like next year. We don't have a full picture of it yet. There's certainly new challenges that come with being in this esports world, but there's also a lot of expertise and history and just nuance that we want to be able to recapture, but there's also that energy, that dynamism that esports demands. Like you want stuff to blow up and you want stuff to happen, and so I don't know how where that balance sits.
It is faster paced, right? Arena is very quick. You literally don't have as much time to make a decision. Say if you were playing on Magic Online, which gives you 10 minutes. You only have 30 seconds in some cases. So this is going to probably change the pace, make it faster to watch, more dynamic. And there's animations, there's voice lines for the planeswalkers, there's cool music and sounds. So I think all of that is super visually appealing and makes it a really excellent dynamic viewing experience. A little bit more flashy, but in the end it's still Magic.
Magic has been around for a long time, and there's just a lot of stories and a lot of history, and we've lost some people, and I don't know, it's important to just have a document of all of that and to remember the great players, the great moments, and the great games.
And look at this, here's Flourish off the top of the library for Timothée Jamot, and I think we're looking at the end of the line for Team Israel. Team France has won the World Magic Cup yet again. The last one goes to France. What a great run from the team from France. They have proven themselves on the world stage time and time again, and they do so in one last flurry here at the World Magic Cup in Barcelona.